Hey, Burned-In Teachers, it's Amber Harper from burnedinteacher.com, and this is the first time I am going live both on YouTube and in my Burned-In Teacher Facebook group at the same time. Just like I encourage educators to do all of the time, I am trying something new to help as many teachers as I possibly can to go from burnout to burned in. If you'd like to learn more, go to burnedinteacher.com. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can join the Burned-In Teacher Facebook group at www.facebook.com/groups/burnedinteacher. Today, I want to talk to you about administration is burning me out. 3 ways to approach a bad relationship with your school principal. This month on the Burned-In Teacher podcast, and if you didn't know about the Burned-In Teacher podcast, go to burnedinteacher.com/podcast to listen to the latest episodes. This month's theme in Burned-In Teacher is all about administration is burning me out. Hi, Dan. So glad to have you here. I have had 4 incredible conversations with really, really smart individuals that have worked in education or do work in education currently, talking all about how we as teachers can take control over our relationship with our principal. Now, burned and over it teachers, if you've taken the teacher burnout quiz, and you can take that quiz at burnedinteacher.com/burnout quiz, you can find out what type of burnout you're struggling with. Okay, so you burned and over it teachers, you frustrated teachers who are really feeling a lot of apathy towards your career because of either your students' behavior or because of your lack of a solid relationship with your principal. This one is definitely for you. So Dan and anyone else that joins, in the comments, please tell me what type of burnout you are dealing with. And give me a yes if you've struggled with administrator relationships in the past. Hi, Chanel. So glad you've joined us. So I'm going to go into the 3 ways that you can approach your bad relationship with your administrator. Now, I wish that I would have either, number 1, done some research on this whenever I had a terrible relationship with my administrator in the past. And I also wish that I would have had somebody that would have said, hey, I know what it's like. Here's what you should do. So I'm going to give you 3 steps with some information in between. Okay. So feel free to jump into the comments and let me know if you have a question or if you have something to add to this conversation. That's one reason that I want to go live both on Facebook in my group and on YouTube at the same time. This is for you, not for me. Okay. So the first thing is, number 1, pay attention. Pay attention to what's happening. Pay attention to what is off. And also pay attention to how long you have been working with this administrator. Have you always worked in this building? Have you always worked in this corporation? What do you have to compare your relationship with your administrator now to a relationship that you've had with a boss or an administrator in the past? What is it that's different? Why did that change? What is it that has happened that has caused this relationship to go downhill? Okay. The next step is find that core tribe of support. Those people that lift you up and build you up, those people that don't tear you down. Find those people to talk to about this issue that you're having. And remember, I'm all about letting things out, venting, but you have to end that venting with some support. Ask for some support with the specific problem from your core tribe of supporters, okay? So go to them and tell them the situation and ask them what they would do, because every bad relationship with a principal or bad relationship with anybody is situational. So I can't answer all of those reasons that you may be having issues with your principal in this video, but I can tell you that people that you work with, hi Sabrina, people that you work with might be able to give you some advice and some tips on how it is that you can address this specific issue that you're having with your administrator, okay? The next thing that I want you to do to pay attention is ask yourself some really hard gut check questions. Number 1, did you misunderstand what they said? Okay. Sometimes we as teachers, and I can tell you this from 12 years of teaching experience, they can say one thing out of their mouth and it goes into my ear in a different way than what they attended. And typically, when that happens, teachers get up in arms and get frustrated and vent to one another about how terrible this decision is or this initiative is, but they really don't take time to fully understand if that's the way that it was meant to be interpreted. So make sure that you understand the situation fully. Second of all, make sure that you're not the problem. Ask yourself, and this is hard because you don't want to assume that you're the problem. You don't want to assume that you're the one that is making the situation worse, but it could be fact. I know that it was my fault, some of the things that happened between myself and my administrator. I know that I was the problem because I wasn't taking the steps necessary to fully understand and walk in their shoes. And that's actually the next thing. Walk in their shoes. Pay attention. What is their life like on a day-to-day basis? I'm married to a principal, and I can tell you that being a principal is really, really challenging. Not only do you have to care for your students, but you also have the parents of those students coming to you, of your whole school, and your teachers, and your administration above you. It's a tough place to be. So try to take a walk in their shoes and see where they're coming from. All right. Next is definitely remember what you can control and what you can't. There are things that happen in every career, in every life situation that you can and cannot control. And I tell my students in the small group program, you have to sometimes sit inside of those things you can't control, see what that feels like. So I actually have them write down things that are frustrating to them that they can't control on paper. And then I have them literally set those things around them in a circle. See how that feels. It feels pretty crappy, all right? So the next thing I tell everybody to do is write down the things on index cards or paper that you can control. Sit those around you in a circle. Sit inside of those things. It feels much better. It empowers you. It makes you a much more confident human as far as making sound decisions. So number one, definitely pay close attention. Hi, Abby. So glad you joined us today. The second thing, let me back up one more thing. Relationships really do start with you. It's a give and take. It's, as Danny Bauer said, he said it's a deposit and withdrawal. What are you adding to that relationship? So the relationship, no matter where it is, if it's rocky or if it's teetering there on the fence or if it's good, it really depends on you as far as how that relationship is either going to continue to grow or continue to deteriorate, okay? The second way you can approach a bad relationship with your administrator is have a simple conversation, all right? Humble yourself. Admit to them if you've misunderstood. Admit to your principal if you were wrong, okay? Opening up that communication, opening up that vulnerability, opening up the ability to have that conversation in the first place rather than making assumptions and rather than only communicating through email is an excellent way to show that you're willing to listen, you're willing to learn, and you're willing to seek advice, as stinking hard as it is sometimes. And I know because I myself have struggled with pride in the past. It is really hard to humble yourself, especially if you've convinced yourself over weeks and months or even years. It's hard to sit across the table from them and admit that you made a mistake. Okay, so humble yourself, admit that you need to talk about this thing that happened, whether or not it's your fault, if it's a misunderstanding, okay? And be intentional. Be intentional about your conversation with your administrator when you decide to sit down with them. And don't just knock on their door and say, hey, I need to talk to you about something really quickly. Email them, set up a meeting, make sure you're not just kind of blindsiding them and sitting down and having this really deep heart-to-heart. Email them, let them know that you want to have this conversation about this thing or this relationship or this thing that happened, okay? But be intentional about it. Even writing down the exact things that you want to talk about. Go prepared, because I can tell you there's going to be a huge difference between your conversation with your administrator and yourself if you just plop yourself down and say, I'm burned out. I'm frustrated. I can't believe that you said this thing. There's going to be a very different reaction to that. Besides the fact that you're just sitting in there and you're putting everything in their hands as far as this is all your fault. All right. That's very different than you coming in and saying, I'm feeling really frustrated about this thing blank by A. All right. And here's why. Can you help me understand? Did I misunderstand you when you said it this way? Or when you said this thing, it really didn't sit well with me. Can you help me understand? Or I must have misunderstood you whenever you said this. All right. Those types of conversation starters, those types of sentence stems can really open up the door to an A-B conversation, to a back and forth, rather than shooting bullets with your words. You're offering an exchange. Can you please explain to me? Can you help me understand? I think I misunderstood, or I'm not quite getting this. Is this what you meant? Okay. Making sure that you're telling them why you're struggling. Okay. Just setting down the what, just slapping the what down in front of them is not going to help your administrator to connect with you on any level. All right. Another thing is let's back up for a second. Don't wait until this situation has gotten so bad that your list is 2 pages long. All right. That means that there have been things over weeks, months, possibly even years that you have let build up to this moment. That's a lot of stuff to take in as your principal, as a leader. I mean, imagine if a parent did that to you, right? If a parent just had a list of all of these things that not only they disagreed with you about with their current student in your class, but their student that you had a couple of years ago. That would put you in a terrible position. All right. Have any of you ever had that happen before? Please jump into the comments and tell me if you can relate to any of these things, or if you have anything to add to this conversation. All right. So the last thing about having that conversation is remembering that your principal is a human being just like you. Guess what? So is your assistant principal. All right. They make mistakes. They have a life outside of school. They're learning as they go. They're being faced with challenges from multiple places every day, just like you, just in a different way. So don't believe for a second that they don't feel things like a human feels, that they don't sometimes feel like they're going to lose it, or that it's too much, or that there's too much to do and not enough time, or that people just aren't getting them, or these things aren't what's best for kids. They feel those feelings too. They're a different human though. Sometimes humans just don't get along with other humans, and that's going to lead to my third way to approach your bad relationship with your administrator. Now, assuming that you have tried to sit down and have this conversation, you've really talked to that tribe, those people that are meant to support you and help you. Assuming that you have done those things, the last step and way to approach your relationship or your terrible relationship with your administrator is to finally take the leap. Now, like I said, there are times when humans just don't get along with other humans. As hard as you might be trying, it's just not working. They are not understanding you. And sometimes the best thing to happen is that you just simply say, this is just not the best place for me right now. So what that leap means is different things for different people. Okay. It could be a different position within your school. It doesn't have to be you absolutely leaving the building. It could be a different position. Now, I will tell you, if it is a relationship that's just gone sour over time and it just cannot be mended, then it's probably best for you to get a position in a different building. Okay. So this could be a different position within your school, a different position in your corporation, in another building. I can tell you, for a lot of teachers that I know, it has made a big difference. All right. A big difference in people's careers and their outlook on their job as a teacher. All right. The next thing I want you to think about whenever you're thinking about taking the leap is that if you're burned and over it means you are so frustrated you can't even see the purpose in you going to school every day. All right. You know you're going to have this person hanging over your head, or you just know that there's just nothing's going to change. So why am I doing this anymore? All right. And you may be burned in over it too because of your students' behavior. And again, I'm referring to the results that you could possibly be from the teacher burnout quiz. If you go to burnedinteacher.com/burnout quiz, then you can take that quiz yourself and find out what it is that, what type of burnout you are dealing with as a person. Okay. So Making sure that you are going through these steps is really, really important for you seeking what is going to make you the happiest, most fulfilled human being that you can be. All right. So make sure that before you take that leap out of anger and out of frustration and as a reaction, try to be proactive first. Being proactive means paying attention to the things that are happening around you, how things are changing, and why they might be changing. All right. It's having those tough conversations. All right. It's really sitting down with that principal or assistant principal, maybe more than once, and really paying attention to how they react to you. And it could be that it was you totally misunderstood. I guarantee you, if you have the guts to sit down in front of your principal and say, I really want this to work. Can you help me? All right. Now you've put the responsibility of empowerment in their hands, and it's up to them to do with it what they want. All right. So those are the 3 ways that you can approach your bad relationship with your administrator. And hey, if you can think of more, dump them in here into the comments. Tell me about your experiences. All right. This video is on Facebook in my Burned In teacher group. You can go to that group by going to facebook.com/groups/burnedinteacher and request to join. You can also see this video on YouTube. I'm doing this both live on Facebook and live on YouTube because I want to support as many teachers as I possibly can to help them to be more fulfilled and happy human beings. So with all that being said, pay attention, have a conversation, and take the leap. Until the next time that I come on here, I wish you all of the best luck in approaching these conversations with your administrator. You are worth it. You are worthy of respect, but you're also worthy of respecting others. So burn on and take a deep breath. You just took another step to becoming a burned in teacher. Burn on.